Today we are going to talk about nursing courses and PR pathways, and our first speaker is Akshdeep Kaur. Akshdeep is a QAC certified senior course advisor at Aussies Group. She is a domain specialist for nursing courses and careers in Australia, and since last, I think, over 5 years, she has been helping international students and facilitating nursing admissions for international students from various academic backgrounds. And she's a specialist with this nursing courses, and she's also very well versed with AFRA and NMBA requirements and standards for nursing. So without further ado, I think I would like to call upon Akshdeep. Aksh, the stage is all yours. Please start.
Thank you, Priyanka. Hi, everybody. My name is Akshdeep. Today, we would be discussing about nursing courses. So, as you all know, the trend because of the COVID has shifted altogether to nursing, and nursing has become the the prime sector when it comes to jobs as well. We have seen a consistent boom in this sector in last 5 years when it comes to jobs as well. And another 5 years down the line, also the trend's going to increase. Today, we would be discussing as to why you should do the nursing, the courses, the entry requirements, and all the generic questions that we have came across in so many years of our work experience from the students. So moving forward, guys, most importantly, why do you want to study nursing? Everybody wants a stable PR pathway and a rewarding career. So this course not only offers you a stable PR pathway with a future career outcome, but it also offers you a good package. Average salary of a nurse starts from $50,000, and with experience it gradually increases to $80,000 to $90,000 as well. Now this is just for registered nurses or enrolled nurses itself. It's not for specialized nurses, clinical nurses. Because of the COVID, this course or this career is seeking a boom, or there's a career projection that's gonna be, which is taking an upward curve for this course, for this nursing itself. So guys, in order to serve the community as well, many people undertake these courses. However, most importantly, students come and ask me, are there job outcomes? Yes, there are job outcomes, and we would be discussing shortly what are the different job outcomes and how the states have reacted to the increase in demands of the nurses as well. Moving forward, you all know the basic job outcomes that are there, which is enrolled nurse and registered nurse. Today, I'll take you through a hierarchy of nurses. So into a nursing sector, most of you might not be aware what the hierarchy of the nurses is. So starting from an assistant in nursing, a person can move up to enrolled nurse, further up to endorsed enrolled nurse, moving further up to a registered nurse. Now, an enrolled nurse is one who works under a supervision of a registered nurse. That's the basic difference that's there between a registered nurse and an enrolled nurse. Apart from that, enrolled nurses are the ones who have undertaken a diploma level qualification, whereas the registered nurses are the one who have taken a bachelor's or a higher level of qualification. And now you might be asking, what is an endorsed enrolled nurse? Endorsed enrolled nurses are the ones who can actually endorse medication. An enrolled nurse cannot endorse a medication. However, an endorsed enrolled nurse can endorse a medication, and that's a 6 months of qualification that you need to undertake separately apart from your diploma of nursing. Further after registered nurse comes your clinical nurses. Now for clinical nurses, again, that's a specialized program. Apart from specialized nurses, this is also a specialized program which is undertaken at a master's level. Then comes your midwives. Midwifery is a program which is undertaken at a bachelor's or a master's level either. Now midwives are the one who cater to mothers or child or the childbirth in itself. They are the one who are specialized in this particular sector. Moving further, there are nurse practitioners. There are specialized nurses. Specialized nurses when it comes, there are nurses when it comes to mental health sector as well. Now, mental health sector at the moment is very highly paid specialization of a nurse. You can be a mental health nurse if you do masters of nursing. Now, specialized nurses programs are offered, or job outcome is generally there post your qualification of your masters. Then comes your nurse managers. Nurse managers are one of the highest paid nurses, and they do not undertake any nursing practice as such. They would be supervising all the specialized nurse or the clinical nurses. So they are the ones who have very high work experience. So gradually over the sector, when you start your nursing career, you might progress yourself to become a nurse practitioner or a nurse manager as well. Going forward, guys, what are the entry requirements? You all know that for diploma, technically that's the start of the qualification. and then comes your bachelor's, and then comes your master's. So we would be discussing the entry requirements one. So for diploma of nursing, the entry requirements are your high school. So you should have completed a high school qualification. You should be 18 years old, and you should either have a certificate 4 or let's say a high school qualification which is equivalent to Australian high school qualification. Apart from that, there is an English requirement as well. So you need 7 each. That's the IELTS requirement. However, at diploma level qualification or bachelor's or master's, you can undertake other tests as well. So AFRA would accept other tests, so would the universities. These courses which you are undertaking, technically, they are approved by AFRA. In case any course is not approved by AFRA, you cannot undertake that course. Even if you undertake that course won't lead you to registration. So please bear in mind, whenever you are undertaking a course, either go through a thorough search of finding an approved courses, or you can meet one of our qualified consultants and they would be able to guide you through that these courses, which are the approved courses that are being offered in different states. Now, when it comes to different English tests that you can undertake, this would be generic for all the nursing courses. So you can take OET, TOEFL, and you can take PTE, and you can take IELTS as well. So for IELTS, we need 7 each, no band less than 7. There are certain providers that accept 2 test sittings combined. So let's assume you have a test score of 7, no band less than 6.5, whereas you gave another test within a time frame of 6 months. You can combine both the test settings and you can use that score. So you have 7, no band less than 6.5 in one test. You have again 7, no band less than 6.5 in another test. But within a time frame of 6 months, that can cumulatively become 7 each, and you can undertake your admission into bachelor's or master's. There are very few providers who would offer this, and even for diploma, there are very few providers who would offer this. Another waiver to English is your 6 years of Australian study requirement or any English speaking country study requirement. So in case you have studied in Australia for over 6 years, in continuity, you do not need English for admission or for assessment altogether. OET, TOEFL, and your PT. So PT is 65 each in all the modules. OET is B in all the components. So there are 4 components. You need to have B in all the 4 components. TOEFL, you need to have listening and writing 24. Whereas in, listening and reading 24. In writing, you need to have 27. And in speaking, you need to have 23. So in case you're not able to crack PTE, you can always go ahead and prepare for it. Or you can go ahead and give your OET or TOEFL as well. They are much easier for healthcare sector professionals as compared to PTE and TOEFL. Now, when it comes to bachelor's, you need to have at least your diploma level qualification or your certificate 4 level qualification. So in case you have certificate 4, that's completely acceptable and you can progress towards your bachelor's of nursing. You also need to be 18 years old in order to undertake these courses. Now, I do understand, apart from the English requirement, many students come and ask me that, okay, I am a master's background student. Can I study bachelor's? Yes, you can study bachelor's. So this is the minimum entry requirement, guys. That's not the maximum entry requirement. You can always have a career progression, a career change, and you can move into bachelor's of nursing. Moving further, for masters of nursing, most of the students who have done nursing program or are from science background might not be acceptable into masters of nursing. So when it comes to masters of nursing program or bachelors of nursing, there's additional requirement of maths. Most of the universities need that maths component. Now that maths component doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be mathematics. It could be your physics or your chemistry. There are certain units that you need to cover. So maths component can be covered either in physics or in chemistry. It doesn't need to be in mathematics. For masters of nursing, you need human biology component as well. So suppose you have done bachelor's of accounting, you do not have human biology component, you can undertake a separate human biology component and go into masters of nursing. There are intakes open for masters of nursing as well. However, the English requirement remains same for all the nursing courses, be that diploma, bachelor's or master's, because they are set down by AFRA and not by university. So there's no waiver to it apart from your study requirements to be met. Most of the students come and ask me, are there regional studies? I know by now you would have done your own research. and know that regional study requirements can be met and you get additional benefits for studying in regional areas like post-study work rights. You get additional 4 years of post-study work rights or 3 years of post-study work rights for studying in regional areas. So for regional studies, by now, you know that you guys get additional post-study work rights. Most of the students, they are preferring regional studies. When it comes to regional studies, Northern Territory has one university. Okay, so we just don't cater to universities. We also cater to TAFEs as well, guys. Please bear in mind. But these courses, because they are approved by AFRA, they are with very selective providers. There are providers that are offering Masters of Nursing. However, that's not an RN leading course. So today we would be discussing just about RN or EN leading courses or midwife leading courses, not non-approved courses. In Northern Territory, we have Charles Darwin University. Now, Charles Darwin University at the moment has their intakes open for Feb 2021. You guys can avail your scholarships as well with Charles Darwin University. And now is the right time to start your application process because Charles Darwin University has destination scholarships as well. So you guys can apply for destination scholarship and get up to 30% of scholarship approved by Charles Darwin University. Now, destination scholarship would include your extracurricular activities and your academic portfolio. So whenever you're preparing an SOP for scholarship, you can always take an advice from us, or you can prepare your SOP in such a format that extracurricular activities along with your academic profile are very much highlighted in that, and you can avail destination scholarship. Now, destination scholarship is available with most of the universities. However, they have very few seats available. Moving further, New South Wales, the most progressive sector at the moment when it comes to nursing, there's CSU. Now, CSU has Bachelor's of Nursing intake. They do have July 21 intake still open in case you want to apply. Then comes TAFE New South Wales and Southern Cross Universities. We would be undertaking the scholarships and intake in a little while, guys. And moving further, Queensland has University of Sunshine Coast, Southern Cross Universities. These universities, they have multiple campuses. Lismore, Coffs Harbour. So you guys can study at any of the campuses and still avail the benefits of regional study and working as a registered nurse as well. So you guys have multiple benefits of living in a regional area because you would have better job options. Western Australia has ECU, CDU, IHM, Curtin University. Now, IHM does not offer Masters of Nursing, but we would be discussing their courses shortly. South Australia has Torrens University, TAFE, SA, Think, Equal, SCI, Queensborough. Then Victoria has Kangan Bendigo TAFE, which is in Bendigo. Then we have Federation University, which is in Ballarat. We have Deakin in Geelong and Gordon TAFE in Geelong. Moving further, ACT has CIT and University of Canberra. Now, these universities, they offer diploma, bachelor's and master's level qualification. So most of the TAFEs would be offering diploma level qualifications. However, universities would be offering bachelor's and master's level qualification. You have already discussed the entry requirements. Still, guys, if you have any confusion, you can always leave us your comments and we would be more than happy to answer that. Apart from the regional studies, most importantly, we need to know what are the next intakes. So as you know, nursing is very high in demand because of which most of the intakes are not available. Like in South Australia, unfortunately for 2021, no intakes are available for diploma of nursing and for bachelor's as well. In bachelor's of nursing, the next intake available is Feb 2022. So guys, please bear in mind in case you want to get enrolled into bachelor's or diploma of nursing even, you need to start your application as soon as possible. So CSU, like we discussed, which is in New South Wales Regional, has their upcoming intakes in July 21, and they are offering 30% scholarship based on your academics. So you're still not late, you can still apply and secure your seats, though the seats would be limited, but you would have a benefit of studying in regional areas as well. Then comes your CDU. Now, CDU is offering Masters of Nursing. Masters of Nursing is a 2-year duration program as compared to Bachelors of Nursing, which is 3.5, or 4 years, depending whether it's an honors qualification or a midwifery. So Bachelors of Nursing is being offered for Feb 2021 in Torrens University. However, the intakes are still open for just Sydney and Brisbane. There are hardly very few seats left, and they are offering scholarship as well. Now, they offer up to 30% scholarship depending on your academic background. Swinburne University has their next intake, which is Feb 21. The applications have already been started pouring in. They have very few seats, and they have an international student scholarship as well. Their international excellence scholarship varies from 10 to 75%. Now, 10 to 75 means based on the academics. Suppose you have very strong academics, you can go ahead and avail up to 75% of the scholarship, be that even in your nursing programs. So guys, please start your application processes as soon as possible. Federation University, when it comes to Victoria, currently most of the universities, the next intake would be Feb 2021. We do not have any intakes available for bachelor's or master's of nursing for 2020. Oh, sorry. Next intake would be Feb 2022, not Feb 2021. Sorry about that. That would be Feb 2022. We do not have any intakes available for Feb 2021. However, for diploma, the next intakes available are September and October. So you can always go ahead and start your preparations. There are certain universities which would offer you a conditional COE as well. So suppose you do not have 7H at the moment or your IELTS scores are expiring, we can help you secure your seat into Diploma of Nursing with a conditional COE as well. So you can always get in touch with us and we can help you get your admission sorted. When it comes to different programs, we have discussed by far Diploma of Nursing, Bachelor's of Nursing, and Masters of Nursing. Now we would be touch basing different programs that are there for internationally qualified nurses. Most of the nurses that come over here, they are basically internationally qualified nurses. What is the outcome for an internationally qualified nurse? Technically, the qualification that you have done, which is Bachelor's of Nursing, that's not equivalent to Australian standards. So you have to undertake your OBA preparatory programs because EPIQ programs are no longer running or iron programs are no longer running. So what is OBA? OBA would be discussed further by MRI agent. However, OBA has two assessments available. One is your NCLEX, another one is your OSCE. NCLEX is a multiple choice question. So you need to be prepared because these multiple choice questions don't just have one answer, but they have multiple. And you can have one question repeated as well in your test. We have seen a higher success rate of nurses clearing NCLEX who are undertaking a preparatory program, which is being offered by IHM, ETA, and Lead College. IHM is giving a discount of up to 50% at the moment. So you would have your OBA preparatory programs up and running for just $2,000. They have monthly intakes available. Another option for overseas nurses is to undertake a Masters of Nursing program. So you do have a CDU intake available for Masters of Nursing. So you can go ahead and enroll with that as well. NCLEX, once you clear your NCLEX, you can jump onto OSCE, which is a clinical test. In order to be prepared for your clinical test, there would be a 14 days clinical training along with a theory component that would help you undertake your OSCE test. Now, this would have a simulation lab as well as a hospital placement as well. So you can go ahead and start your OSCE preparation as well. Most of the nurses in India, let's assume hand washing technique. Basically, hand washing technique in India has different steps, whereas in Australia, it has different steps. If you're not aware of the Australian standards, you have not done your preparation, you, irrespective of the fact whether you're right, you would fail as per the Australian standard. So it's very important and it's primordial for you to understand the Australian standards, which would be undertaken by IHM, ETA, and LEAD. They have tutors who have devised this program. They are tutors who have helped with the OBA to be structured in Australia. So they know what's going to be there. They know how they can help you out. So for all the internationally qualified nurses who have done BSc nursing can go ahead and become a registered nurse after completing your OBA program. There are many nurses who have undertaken GNM or PCL, which is in Nepal. Technically, that's not a registered nurse qualification as per Australian standards. However, you can still be a registered nurse in Australia. That's an EN leading EN equivalent qualification. However, how can you be a registered nurse after completing your GCL or PCL or GCL in India or Nepal? So technically, you can upgrade your qualification, which is doing Bachelor's of Nursing graduate entry program, Bachelor's of Nursing conversion programs as well. Or you can do Masters of Nursing. Or either you can upgrade your qualification by doing a GCN or a GDN. GCN is a 6 months qualification, while GDN is your 1 year qualification. Now, GCN doesn't have a 7H entry requirement, which is a plus point. If you don't have 7H, you have 6.5, you can get enrolled with your GCN undertake the 4 months of the component, your qualification becomes equivalent to Australian qualification of a registered nurse. Now, this pathway is very little known to students or to other agencies, but we have successful outcomes with this pathway. So GNM nurse who has done GCN, undertaken EPIQ or OBA would qualify to become a registered nurse. So you can undertake your GCN, which is hardly for 6 months. Then you can undertake your OBA. So move in to complete your GCN. In the meantime, while you're preparing for your NCLEX and OSCE, book your NCLEX test. Get done with your NCLEX, book your OSCE test. Within 1 year, you can be a registered nurse by undertaking this program. So this is a very good outcome for you guys. Now, why would you like to be a registered nurse or an enrolled nurse? Guys, there's a 15% increase in jobs that's going to be there in another 5 years down the line. So as per the Australian standards or as per the statistical data, average enrolled nurse earns $14,026 a week. However, a registered nurse, on the contrary, earns $1,900 a week. There has been a gradual shift in the nurse. There's a job outcomes that have increased. Currently, there are 25,000 enrolled nurses, whereas 100,000 nurses that are registered nurses working in Australia. New South Wales has seen the maximum job outcomes when it comes to health sector or to nurses. 31.3% of the total nurses or total occupation that are available, they are designated to registered nurses, followed by Victoria, which is 25.5%. So whenever you are undertaking a course, please do keep in mind that you are undertaking a course where you could get a better career prospect, as we discussed earlier, and you can get a better pay rate. Now, moving further, when it comes to pay rates, currently Victoria is the one which has seen a gradual increase, or not a gradual, but a drastic increase post experience. So before experience, at the moment, enrolled nurse is earning $58,000. However, a registered nurse is earning, registered nurse is earning anywhere around 50 to 58,000, whereas an enrolled nurse is earning anywhere around $50,000. But that pay rate increases to $92,000 for a registered nurse. So in case you're in Victoria, you can be a registered nurse, and gradually over the span of 3 years, your pay rate can be very strong as well. Now, highest paid states at the moment would be your Western Australia and Queensland when it comes to your registered nurses. And for ENs, currently Victoria is also paying pretty good. However, the highest paid sector would be ACT. So in case you are going ahead with your diploma level qualification, you should prefer states which have better pay rates altogether. Guys, these pay rates can be matched at the statistical data that has been provided by the Australian survey. So you guys can do your own research. However, before we conclude this session, I'd like to show you few of the data or the few of the future outcomes for nurses. So as we proceed, we are going to see a 15% increase 5 years down the line when it comes to healthcare sectors. Now, as of now, healthcare sector employment is booming. You see the blue curve that's there? That's technically designated to healthcare and social assistant. Healthcare sector technically involves your nurses, assistant nurses, and disability support workers. Next, in another 5 years down the line, there's going to be an increase of around 500 jobs that are going to be there, which is roughly 14.2% of the nurses that are going to be recruited. This is the highest increase that we have ever seen in any sector by far. So guys, before we conclude further, if you have any questions, please do leave them in the chat box. We would be discussing the PR pathways as well, so please stay in touch with us. And thank you so much for the session, and we would be touch basing with you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Aksh. That was fantastic. And I believe all of you would have really benefited from the information provided on the courses, various scholarships available across Australia and stuff, right? So without further ado, we are going to talk about the PR pathways now. And I'm going to call Kunal Verma. So Kunal is a registered migration agent, RMA, one of the most experienced RMAs we have on board in Aussies. And Kunal is an expert in various nursing occupations, ANSCO group codes, and nursing job roles, occupation ceilings, and state nomination requirements for various nursing occupations. And Kunal has been actually helping thousands of migrants to kind of settle in Australia permanently. So I would, and I'm sure you'll benefit from his session also on the PR pathways. So again, reminding all of you to leave your questions in the chat box, and we will see if we can find time towards the end and pick up a few questions from there. So Kunal, I welcome you to join us for the next part of the session.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And hello to everyone who is a part of this session and patiently been listening to the first part of the session. Uh, I would be taking up I would be first going through the slides of different migration options which are for the nursing courses. And if your background is in nursing, what sort of career pathways you can look out in Australia. I would be explaining all of that through my slides. So yes, if you have got any questions, please feel free to drop that in the comment section. And once I am done with my presentation, I would be taking up your questions as well related to migration.
Kunal, can you please share your slides?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's my, uh, so pretty much presentation wherein we will be discussing about different options for nurses, which would be enrolled nurses as well as registered nurses and the specialized nurses. Now, why not be a part of this critical and growing industry that is personally rewarding? We all have seen over the last 1.5 years how this profession has, dramatically increased. The requirements have gone up for the nurses and the other medical related occupations here in Australia. And definitely, migrants have been at the front of helping out a lot of people who have had a situation related to COVID-19 and been able to successfully uh, get Australia out of this situation. I would say across the globe, if we have seen how well we have managed to, control this situation of pandemic. And I would say a lot of role has gone to nurses at the front who have actually helped. So definitely, if you are a migrant here and has this profession as a career for yourself, or you're looking forward to migrate and want to make this as a career or get your permanent residency through this pathway, definitely you have chosen the right country and the profession. So I'll be discussing about the permanent residency across different states. Also the skill independent visa, family sponsored sponsorships, which would also be a part of this presentation. Uh, as mentioned, nurses have a global career due to high demand in various countries. And definitely, nursing career offers great and stable permanent residency pathways in Australia. So this is what Aksh has explained to her slides that why there are different salary packages and the minimum salary package is extremely lucrative as well for nurses here. And there is no upper limit. The better the I would say the more the experience you have, if you have a specialization, you definitely have advantage of earning much above even the higher income threshold. And we have seen that a lot of people who are into this industry have been earning. In fact, I know a lot of clients of mine who were even on a temporary visa once they've done their registrations. They were able to get secure, an hourly wage of $50 an hour, which is absolutely understandable by everyone who is a part of this, presentation. That it's not easy for anyone to earn that sort of a package. And I'm talking about people on temporary visas. So definitely you can understand as if you would grow in terms of your years of experience, it would definitely go up as well. And the career is extremely rewarding in Australia for this. So now the difference between an enrolled nurse and the registered nurse. For an enrolled nurse, you require a minimum qualification, which is of a diploma, and you would be working as a part of team, and it is an entry level work which you would be doing into the nursing occupation. And you will have to firstly get a registration as an enrolled nurse to be able to work as an enrolled nurse. For a registered nurse, the minimum qualification is a degree, which is either a bachelor's or a master's, and that has to be specialized in your field itself, which is bachelor's of nursing or a master's of nursing. And the registered nurses are obviously having the job duties which are at a higher level, wherein they supervise the work of enrolled nurses, and they are more towards the development and creation of patient management and care plans. So that is where you can choose with the level of work you are expected or you would want to do in future. And again, an enrolled nurse can definitely become a registered nurse as well, you will have to do the level of study what is required to be done, which Aksh has explained that what sort of studies are available across Australia in different states. So you can always start as an enroll nurse and pretty much get yourself the registration. And further, if you see the career is rewarding or you want to develop your career into this, you can always have done the bachelor's as well, which could be for a duration of say up to 2 years and become a registered nurse as well. And that's obviously the requirement for any medical occupation here, that you need to have your registration, which is what you would get as a registered nurse here. So registration and the assessment of qualification works. So step one for anyone who has finished the studies, which is either a diploma or a bachelor's, they will have to get their registration through APRA, and that's done through under the guidance of Nursing Midwifery Board of Australia. And once you have and you've acquired the registration, obviously for the registrations are to be applied every 1 year or 6 months, and those registrations have to be continuous until you are practicing this as a profession. And there is no hard and fast requirement once you get your permanent residency, say through by this means you have to continue practicing into the same fields. But yes, if you would want to practice, you definitely have to have a registration done, and you have to keep renewing those registrations. Once your registration is done, you can go to the next stage, which is of applying for your skill assessment. That is done through ANMAC, which is Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council. And that would be the skill assessment you would use for your skilled migration. So to apply for a skilled visa here in Australia, you need to have a skill assessment, and that is what you would obtain by means of ANMAC authority. Now, with the APRA registration process and the ANMAC, as well. So with APRA, if you have an international qualification, Aksh have explained, some points about outcome-based assessment, which I would also discuss in detail in the next slides. So if you have got international qualification, you would go through the process of registration. And this has been a replacement of, we used to have IRON program in the past, which got replaced in February 2020. And thereafter, obviously, the process has been outcome-based assessment for anyone who is coming to Australia or who's willing to, apply for their registration here. They have to follow the outcome-based assessment. Now, if you've done an Australian qualification, you have a process of directly going to APRA. You do not need to follow the process of OBI. So you can directly apply for your registration with the APRA and get that done. So what is outcome-based assessment? It's a new model for assessing the skills and qualifications of internationally qualified nurses for their registration purpose in Australia. This has got 3 stages, and that's what you can go through. When you would go to the process stage for OBI, you will understand that the very first thing what you need to do is you need to do an online self-check. Now that's the first step. We do get a lot of queries from our clients on this because the international qualified nurses are not clear about what sort of pathway they have to follow after the IRON program obviously was being replaced by this program. So definitely this is what you should be looking at, and understand that this is the process each one who is an internationally qualified nurse has to follow to be able to successfully go through the path of registration here in Australia. So all the applicants must do a self-check, as it will determine the stream that the applicants will need to apply for the registration. So when you would go to do the self-check, with APRA, you would find out that which stream are you falling in, okay? And based on the stream, you would select, or you would basically be qualifying. That is based on the level of qualification you have obtained and which country have you studied that in. You would be classified into different streams, which would take you to the next type. Now for the orientation program, that is when you've obviously done your self-check, you would jump onto that step. This is designed to, orientate the international qualified nurses to the Australian work standards and work culture. And this is run in 2 parts, which is what I would explain as well. Now, IRON program, as I said, is no longer. This is what I've mentioned as well. This program replaces the old IRON program theory component, and it is run online. So OBA for some of the international qualified nurses goes with this process. The first step, which involves applicants appearing for an online exam, and which is NCLEX, which already has explained. This is what the first step you have to go through if you're going through the OBA program. and you need to clear that online exam. And that's basically going to take away the theory component. So whatever the multiple choice questions you will have to pass, you will answer. That will take you to the next step of the clinical test, which is done after you've cleared this test. Now this can be done while you're overseas as well, but the second stage, which is the most important step, for that you have to be in Australia, and that's where the objective clinical examination happens. So it's a practical examination that will help assess the clinical skills of the applicant, in the simulation environment, wherein you undergo the practical experience all throughout, which you have to demonstrate you've learned as a part of your studies. Now they are conducted at the Adelaide Simulation Centre in Australia, and as I said before as well, you have to be in Australia to appear for this one. The registration process for the nurses who are internationally qualified, this is the process you guys will have to follow now. And once you've successfully passed these two stages, then you can apply for your registration and you will be successfully obtaining a registration from APRA. So this slide basically explained that, when you do the self-check, depending on which qualification. So if your qualification is relevant and substantially equivalent to an Australian qualification, you can do the orientation and then you can apply for your registration. If your qualification is relevant but not substantially equivalent, you're not eligible for orientation program. You need to complete the OBI. All right. So depending on the qualification level you have and the country you've studied in, this is what you would go through when you would do the self check. So this you can always keep part of the slide just to get an understanding of where would you sit once you would do the self check. And if your qualification is not relevant, you're not eligible even for an OBA program or the orientation program, and you need to complete an Australian qualification. Once you would do that Australian qualification, that is when you will, be able to apply for your registration. So in certain parts of the world, the qualification you have done, they are not being assessed even equivalent to an Australian qualification. And that is where they believe that the components you have studied do not cover enough, I would say modules or have enough technical content for a nurse to be able to operate successfully in Australia. That is when they would ask you to do a qualification study here and then post that apply for your registration. Now, once the registration part is sorted, so you've decided you've been able to go through either an OBA program or you're a graduate from here and then you have applied for your registration, you need to go to the ANMAC, which is the Skill Assessment Authority. And with the ANMAC authority, you have to basically look at, which part of assessment you would be going through. They've got different options depending on where have you done your, international, if you have got an international qualification, where have you done that qualification? Say pretty much applicants from India, applicants from other countries such as Nepal, Pakistan. Most of them goes through the modified skill assessment process, and there is a specific requirement of documents which they have to provide to ANMAC. That would most likely be their experience if it's in a specific field, because a lot of nurses overseas have worked in certain specializations. And you have to demonstrate that you have got a minimum experience, say 240 hours experience is the minimum requirement to be able to apply for your registration in some specialization. That's what you have to provide the professional references for. So they ask for your specific documents related to your studies if it's for an overseas nurse, or if you have done, as I said, from Australia itself, you can straight away apply with your registration and providing them the qualification documents. But for overseas nurses, you're required to provide your professional references if you're obtaining some specializations, so that they can assess you into that specific occupation. And now, why is it important for skilled migration to have your assessment into a specific occupation? You will get to know in the next slides as well, because certain states have requirements, or they have only opened up for certain registered nurses which have certain specializations. So that would definitely put you an edge over the other applicants who have got their general registration done as a registered nurse, which is not either elsewhere classified. And at times, even we have realized the graduates also. So if you are a graduate from Australia for nursing qualification by means of either a diploma or a bachelor's, you may be at a disadvantage unless you have got experience which you have obtained here in Australia. because the specialization is one bit which will benefit you for state nominations here. Okay, so that's how certain countries have the option of going through the full skill assessment directly. So mostly the English speaking countries have that option available with them. They can apply for the full skill assessment. And as I explained before, that people, applicants from India and so a lot of countries there have an option have an option of applying through the modified skill assessment. So again, a complete flowchart of where you start from. And so you complete your qualification, which is diploma, bachelor's or master's, apply for your registration, go through the skill assessment, and then look out which PR pathway you would be fitting in. We will be talking today about 189, which is the skill independent visa. We'll be discussing about 190 and 491, which is state nomination, as well as regional nomination and family nomination. And we will be discussing the employer sponsored categories as well. I mean, I would not be touching in detail about those, but just to give you an idea, excuse me, there are three different subclasses which you can consider for applying. One is a 407, which is the training visa, which you can apply up to 2 years. The other one is an employer sponsored 482 visa. And in the employer sponsored category for the permanent visa, you have an option of 494 as well as option of 186, depending on you've got employer to sponsor in metro or in regional. Now, there is an additional option of 408. Anyone who is working during the pandemic time into the occupation for nursing, they do have an option of applying for 408 visa as well, which can get them to work here up to next 1 year. And that's definitely an option which has been designed only during the pandemic time for applicants so that they can benefit the society and they can contribute towards the society. So 189, again, we have seen a drastic change with the invitations coming for 189 in the past 1.5 years since April 2020. There have not been many invitations for 189 for other occupations than medical. So pretty much department was only focusing on specific set of occupations since April 2020 because with pandemic, they were not able to differentiate between an applicant who is applying for skilled independent from overseas or to onshore. And the idea was, not to open up borders at this stage for overseas applicants to be able to come here. As itself, it was difficult. It was getting difficult for Australia to manage the outbreak which happened in Victoria, as a result of which the state went into lockdown for quite a few months. So that is where the whole process for 189 was more likely onto full stop in the last year. But since we have seen the situation is getting better, in the coming year, we would see that the number of invitation would definitely be better for applicants who would consider applying for 189. Now, that's where I said before as well, the preference for Australia will continue to be towards specialization. So if you are a registered nurse in Australia by merely having a qualification, I would recommend you to start looking out for some specialized work, which I will discuss again in further for state nomination, that whichever state you are in, every state has specific set of occupations in their state occupation list, and they only prefer to nominate those applicants. But for 189, you should eventually look at higher points if you're applying as a registered nurse in future, irrespective of your you are either without any experience being a graduate here, or if you've got experience from overseas, you have a specialization. Higher the points, more would be the probability for you to get an invitation in this stream. And that would continue during the next year as well, because the number of seats would continue to be less in the next financial year. State nomination and family nominations or regional nominations, they have their set criteria. So you are not required to have 90, 95 points as such what is required for 189. However, you are required to have the minimum points requirement, which is 65 points. Plus, you have to obviously have a skill assessment, which we have discussed. And then you need to meet the specific state requirement you are in. So if you are in Victoria, you have to meet Victoria's requirement. If you're in New South Wales, requirements for them, and whichever state you are in. With family nomination, you are required to have a family member who is an Australian permanent resident, a citizen, and they have they have been residing in a specific regional area in Australia. Now, a lot of queries do come wherein clients ask us, is there a specific time period for which your family member has to live there? So there is no set time period, but they would want to make sure that the intention of family nomination is genuine, it looks legit. As a result, when we apply for an application, they will ask for specific set of documentations for their residency in the regional, Australia. If you're able to demonstrate that by providing those evidences, definitely, they will approve your application. But it should not be the case, you're a family member has moved in a week before, you've applied for the application, got an invitation. That would obviously arise a lot of doubts to the case officer, considering the fact this is more of an intentional move. So the documents they ask for would more likely to have certain history, and that is where they haven't specified a timeline, but they obviously want to provide the documents for the family sponsoring member, and that would become the basis for them to approve it. But yes, even if you are at 65 points, and if you get additional 15, because that's what you get when you apply for 491 family sponsorship, you have that option of applying even at 80 points, because the last invitations, I will discuss that as well in the further slides. They've invited people with 80 points as well. Okay. All right. So to receive a 189 skill invitation for the occupation, you must have to have it in the MLT SSL. So if you for 189, the occupation for you must be on the MLT SSL list. You can obviously Google and download the medium to long term skill list. I've just got these mentioned that what are the occupations. So starting from nurse, clinical director, nurse practitioner, and all the registered nurses. You have all of them up until registered nurses, not elsewhere classified as occupations falling on the medium to long term list. Advantage of having an occupation out of this will basically give you, you can apply for 189 visa as an additional option. Whereas if your occupation is anything which is on the short-term skilled occupation list, you can only apply for either state nomination or the 491, which is the regional sponsored visa. Now, you cannot even apply for a 491 family sponsorship if your occupation is on the STSOL. So yes, for family nominated 491, your occupation also needs to be on the medium to long-term skill list. Now, these were the cutoffs. So there was an invitation round which pretty much happened, in April 2021, which was the last round. The cutoff was 65 points, but there were RNs who were only invited for 491. We haven't seen invitations given for registered nurses for 189. And that's exactly as I said, any applicant in registered nurse category also, if they have a family member, my advice is strongly to consider that as an option, just because that would definitely open up more opportunity for you. And while we know the push from 2019 itself, the federal government have decided to promote family sponsorships and regional sponsorships. So definitely their intentions would continue to have people moving to regional areas rather than settling in metros. So if you have a family member who is a PR or a citizen, have been residing in a specific regional area, please do consider that option. We've got your next round for the skilled independent, which is 189 and 491 family in July. If you haven't lodged an expression of interest yet and you're intending to, please do contact me. My details would be at the second last slide when I will be finishing, and you can always contact me for that as well. So these are the different parts, states of Australia. And now getting on to the state nomination. We are obviously not having more, I would say mostly all these states are currently closed, and they do not obviously are inviting for unless the ones who have already applied with their to their nominations. But there are no further states which are open for the next 2 days. July, definitely we would see a lot of states opening up. And they would come out with their specific requirements. So what I'm going to discuss is only about the requirements which states had in the past. So if you look at Victoria, as I said, there were specific occupations only they had on the list, which was midwife, aged care nurse, registered nurse, critical care and emergency, mental health, and perioperative. So only these registered nurses were being invited for 190 category in the financial year, which is ending tomorrow. So definitely, you if you were any of these nurses, you might have got invitation, or if you have a friend or a family who have got invitations, any other nurse have not been invited. The only option was available for 491, wherein registered nurses of other occupations other than the ones mentioned here, if they were only entitled for 491 but not 190. So yes, that's why I said to be able to get registration done for any of these occupations, you have to have a minimum of 240 hours of skilled experience, which you need to provide to ANMAC so that they can do your assessment into the nominated occupation. So they had the process of lodgement of expression of interest. Then you do a registration of interest, which they would assess for you. After that, the nomination application, if your registration has been shortlisted, and then you would apply for the visa. Now, what is the requirement for applying the registration of interest? For 190, it was living and in Victoria for 6 months, and you must be working also in your nominated occupation for 6 months. Now, that work in your nominated occupation was also required to be in sectors which were of health, medical research, and life sciences. So again, it goes without saying your work was definitely into health if you are a registered nurse, but you have to have a minimum experience of 6 months. And as I mentioned, it was only for these occupations which is mentioned. But for 491, 3 months of experience was also accepted, but you were required to live and work for 3 months in regional areas. And they could have been any registered nurse out of the list, which is on the medium to long term or the short term. But you have to demonstrate that you have been working at least for 3 months. Points requirement is either 60, that because you get 5 points for state nomination, or 50 points because you get 15 points for 491. Moving on to New South Wales, so pretty much they have been open until now, to process the applications, but obviously they're not inviting any further applicants. These were all the occupations which they had on their list for 190. And the requirements were pretty simple for New South Wales because they did not invite applicants for the whole year, but they started inviting only in April. So what they did was earlier they had the criteria that people with higher points would get the first preference, then the ones who have got superior English, then the ones who have got experience in their nominated occupation. And they have invited applicants with points itself in the last 2 to 3 rounds, which they conducted since April. So it was a pretty much straight go for applicants who were having these occupations or have got assessment into this, and they have applied by residing. So obviously you must be living in New South Wales, have evidences for residency there, then only you can get invitation for 190. For 491, they have got 3 different streams, and every, these are basically the participating regions, and every participating region had their own set of requirements. I mean, they were either of the 3 requirements you have to satisfy, which is mentioned here, but they have their own list as well, out of which if your occupation falls in their list, and you have been living and working there for the past 1 year, you have recently completed your study of 2 years in regional New South Wales, or you have got a job offer letter there, then these are the 3 streams for you to apply for 491 in New South Wales. Again, this will open up again next year. Most likely the requirements would stay same. So that's where you have to keep an eye on to these requirements. And if your intention is to relocate there, then definitely follow these requirements to be met. Now, South Australia, again, we are expecting them to open up again on the 19th of July. They've got all the registered nurse occupations on the list. There were different pathways available for South Australian nurses, which is either through a graduate program wherein you are a graduate from there, or you have basically, have a talent innovators program, which is most likely if you have scored higher GPAs in your study, that is what would make you eligible. Now, there are certain waivers on experience requirements for people who have been living there for long, which is, after more than certain years of, time they have lived in South Australia. Applicants who have been living and working in outer regional of South Australia, and even for the exceptions for the, high performing graduates for South Australia if they are applying through the Talent and Innovators program, as I mentioned. So South Australian graduate pathway, you've completed a bachelor's degree or higher qualification. You are currently working in your nominated or closed-date occupation for the last 3 months in South Australia. Now, this was an option which is a mandatory requirement for everyone, wherein there are certain exceptions which have been given for PhD or master's graduates. So if you have done your study, which is in nursing itself, but obviously the level of study was master's by research or a PhD, you may get a waiver of experience requirement. If your GPA scores are more than 6 in master's by coursework, if you have if your first class honors in your honors in your dedicated honors year, or GPA of 6 or more if it's in a bachelor's. Okay, registration definitely is a must, and these are all the exceptions for experience, but you obviously have to be a graduate with these studies and with these grades. Yeah, so I've already explained that you must be living in South Australia to be able to apply for South Australian state nomination. And depending on which occupation you have, the experience requirements and where have you actually been working, the requirements are either for 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months, which is your work in that nominated occupation, which you have to fulfill. to be able to. So if you're not a graduate, but you have just moved there because you got a job there, depending you're working in Greater Adelaide or the outer region South Australia, and what is your nominated occupation, you'll have to work for either 6, 12, or 18 months there. And for 491, it is basically you must be living there in South Australia, and the experience requirement again varies on the based on the qualification and where are you working. It is 6 months or 12 months of experience you have to have. Now they also accept part-time work as well, so you don't need to worry in case if you have got a certain visa which is not allowing you to work full-time. Even with 20 hours of experience, you are able to apply for 190 or 491 there. Currently, Queensland is also closed, expected to open in next financial year. They basically follow a pathway of priority migration scale occupation list, which is rolled out by federal government. They have not come up with any specific list for 190. So if you want to apply for 190 there, demonstrate that you have worked there for 6 months full time, and you have got the job available for the next 12 months, and your occupation must be on the PMSOL list. Okay. For 491, you obviously have to demonstrate that your occupation is on the critical list. You have to demonstrate working for 3 months in a regional area and have to have the job available for the next 12 months as well. And obviously that would become the basis for you to apply in the Queensland. Again, as I said, this would continue to be the nomination for the next year, but I can't answer that. But most likely, if the process continues, because the seats have remained safe this year for the allocation what federal has done, most likely the requirements would stay same. Western Australia has got their occupations. These are again the occupations which they have on their general stream list. Again, they also have the other option of applying there if you're a graduate, but there is no registered nurse or enrolled nurse occupation which is currently on their graduate list. Means if you are even having a work, you don't have to be a graduate only, which is basically which applies for all other occupations there in IT, engineering, and majority of the occupations that they can only apply through the graduate stream pathway, but only for nurses which are these registered nurses, child and family health, community health, critical care, mental health, and perioperative. If you have been living there in Western Australia and you've got a job there, then definitely you can apply for 190 there. You just need to lodge an expression of interest, and the state would invite you to lodge the nomination, further to which you can apply. So 12 months of full-time job contract in WA is what you would require when you would get an invitation through the general stream. If you were able to demonstrate that, you can apply for your nomination and successfully apply for the visa as well. Northern Territory, again, a state which has their set of requirements, which is at least 6 continuous months of experience in your nominated occupation. So NT has changed the requirements last year itself. And you must be living there for 2 years prior to apply if you're looking for state nomination application. And you must have to show that, if you're a graduate there, you've lived there, continuously 6 months after finishing your study, then you can apply for a 190 visa there. Otherwise, you're only eligible to apply for 491. So you need to be working in NT for a minimum of 2 years and demonstrate the employment is available for at least further 12 months. Now, if you look at it, NT has become extremely hard for applicants to apply 190. But if you look at 491, on the other hand, is easier, even if you have moved there after 1st of July. Or if you moved there before the 1st of July, the requirements are completely different. So if you're a graduate from any other state, but you have moved there on your other visa, like TR itself, then you're able to apply. You have to demonstrate 6 months of full-time work in your nominated occupation, and the job has to be available for the next 12 months. Now, most of the states are currently closed, so they come up with the fresh requirements, but this is what you have to keep in mind if you go there, because the requirements more or less stays same for most of the states. Either study there or either you work there for 6 to 12 months, and that would become basically the basis for applying for you. Tasmania, again, these are the occupations which are on their list. They have got 2 options for, currently they are not processing anything for overseas applicants, but it's an EOI based process for overseas applicants. They can apply for an EOI, they will be invited to apply for the nomination, and so they go on. But for the onshore applicants, they must have either studied there for 2 years, or then they can apply through the graduate pathway, or then they would have studied there for 1 year, then they can apply. Or if it is related to work, then you must have been working there for at least 6 months full time to be eligible to apply for the work related pathway. That has to be full time work again. irrespective whether you're applying for 190 or 491. So if it's for 190, your work has to be on the for occupation which is on the TSOL list. So if you have your occupation anything out of this and you are working in Tasmania for the past 6 months in your nursing occupation, then you can apply for state nomination there, but it has to be full-time work. For 491, your work has to be in any of the demanded occupations. Say if it's anything which is skilled level 1 to 3 occupation. So you're not working there basically as a registered nurse, but you're working there for any other skilled occupation which is for skill level 1, 2 to 3, then you can still apply for 491 there, but based on your 6 months of employment there. ACT again has quite a few occupations which are on the ACT critical list, which is what they have changed in January this year. To be eligible to apply for ACT nomination, you must be living in there for ACT for the last 6 months. And you must have been working as well for the past 6 months full time. You do not have to be working in your nominated occupation, but your work has to be full time. And must meet one of the following, your either nominated occupation must be on their list or you must be on an employer sponsored visa. Since ACT follows a matrix system, with the matrix system, the advantage is that if your occupation falls on the list, your chances to secure nomination there are extremely high. So definitely any of the nursing applicants who think they are not able to secure nominations in other states and their occupation is on the ACT list, I would strongly recommend you to consider that as an option to move there. Right, and that's it, guys. So that's all for the state nomination. Sorry, I have to make it very quick in terms of reading the state nominations. But yes, you've got my details here. If in case you want to come across, if you want to come back asking any questions, feel free to drop me an email or a text, or you can book an appointment, calling our office as well. And happy to obviously assist you with your queries. And please do leave us a feedback. If you're satisfied or you're happy the way we have obviously given you the information, or if you have successfully enjoyed this presentation.
Thank you, Kunal. I think we can take a few questions, generic ones, which will help a lot of people. So I will ask the first question. This is from Bhushan. And he's asking if there is any Bachelor of Nursing course available in Tasmania. So Aksh, probably you could quickly answer that.
Hi, Bhushan. Yes, Bachelors of Nursing programs are available in Tasmania with UTAS. They have Feb and July intakes available, not for this year, but for the upcoming year. So you can start your application process as soon as possible. You know the entry requirements for that. But apart from UTAS, no other provider has those intakes.
Thank you, Aksh. There is one more question, which is about, and I think two people have already asked that, what if, can I do my master's in nursing if I have done my bachelor's in some other stream? So Tarun here is asking, Tarun De Silva, that he has done his bachelor's of marketing. He's a marketing student, bachelor's of marketing student in Victoria. Disha has a similar question. She has done her bachelor's in medical sciences. So can people like this, they can enroll in master's of nursing after they complete their bachelor's?
Yes, you guys can enroll. So basically for Masters of Nursing, you do not need to have a cognate background. Yes, the university options will be shortlisted to very few, but all you need to know is that you need to have covered a maths component in your high school. So have you done physics, chemistry, or mathematics in your high school? If yes, you can get your admission sorted for Masters of Nursing programs, irrespective of the background you're from. So even if you're from health sciences background, even if you're from IT accounting backgrounds, you can do those programs. There's a biology component that you need to cover separately, which is roughly for 4 to 8 weeks, which you can do online as well. So post completion of that component, you would be eligible for Masters of Nursing programs.
That's good news, Aksh. So I think if you have your eyes set to it, you can. There are options available. That's good. We have another one question, which is CJ. I am currently working as a registered nurse in NSW for 2 years. I would like to ask for advice. What would be the best option for next steps to get my PR? And Kunal, I think you're the best suited to answer this question.
Sure. Look, obviously, the state, as I said, I've given the options for New South Wales that they are nominating high point applicants for state nomination. So if your occupation is on the 190 list for the registered nurse and you have been working there, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't have been invited so far because it's just about points with them. They have invited in the last one. What I remember is that they have invited applicants with as less as 75 points as well for 190 for the registered nurse occupation. Now, again, I mentioned that, if your occupation is not on their 190 list, the only thing you could do is obviously start looking out for employment into that list stream itself, work for 240 hours, get yourself an assessment and apply for it. Because states are trying to be particular with which registered nurse are they intending to invite. And that completely depends on, the Australian Bureau of Statistics data, which they get with respect to a specific occupation, that these occupations are in demand. Now, if you see, Victoria has always been inviting registered nurses aged care. That was because in the last, during the pandemic, they were severely impacted with the aged care sectors were severely impacted, and they were obviously feeling the shortage of nurses. Otherwise, if you see, as I said, your occupation on the list for 190, then I don't see a reason why you wouldn't have been invited. But wait for the new set of requirements to come. If you haven't applied, and contact me. You can always contact me. I can give you, individual advice on that. But it looks like pretty good for your case. Looks good to me if you've already been working for 2 years. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and CJ says that worked for as a registered nurse in the aged care, Kunal. So
Yeah, so pretty much, if I go back with the list, if you look at New South Wales, if your occupation was on the list for New South Wales, then in that case, definitely you might have seen the invitation because how many points did you apply for with, or how many points are you currently at? I'm currently working as an RN, but in a casual pool. Is that Anita, who was actually, did you ask for? Or?
no, this is a different question. So I think specific ones probably CJ will be best to contact Kunal and get more personalized advice, I guess, right? So thank you, Kunal. We will move on to the next question, which is just a second. What are the IELTS points required for overseas nurse applying for PR? That's for you, probably, Aksh. Kunal?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is minimum points requirement for applying for permanent residency through skilled migration is 6 each, which is the proficient English. However, I mean, competent English to be sorry, but when you apply for a registration here, definitely the minimum scores you require is 7 each. So that's what exactly you should be targeting. And again, depending on which stream of visa you are targeting for, that's how you would have to get. But the minimum, what I am saying, that unless you have registration, you can't get skill assessment, you can't apply for the visa. So 7 each is what should be your minimum target. When I'm talking about IELTS or equivalent in other, modules which are accepted, or the other English exams which are accepted. But again, when you're looking at 189 visa as an option, definitely you should aim at least at 8 each, because that would help you boost your points as well.
Thank you, Kunal. I think we'll take one more last question. And I don't want to disappoint others. We just running short of time. So this is a question from Anita. I am currently working as a registered nurse, but in a casual pool, which means I don't get to work in specific area. I worked in medical, surgical, and emergency ward. Does this have any effect on applying 190 requirement?
Anita, I don't know which state you are in, but if you are in Victoria, the specific requirement for them is for you to have work at least 20 hours, because I have seen certain nurses who were, whose applications have not been processed because their work was more of casual. So yes, my recommendation is if you do not have enough hours, the way it looks is that you have to definitely stick to one of the sector itself, in which you have to work for at least 20 hours a week, and has to be at least for 6 months if you're applying for 190. Then if you have that, definitely I don't see you should have, because I have done a lot of cases for nurses who have been approved though they were working casual. So if it's casual wherein you work one week, say 10 hours, the other week you work 30 hours, I don't see that is going to help for you to successfully get through. But yes, if your hours have been over 20 hours, despite that you have been working casually, then you should be fine, because states have invited a lot of applicants, but it has to be 6 months, and the occupation you're working in has to be on the list for them. That's it.
Thank you, Kunal. I think I told that we're not taking further questions, but there's one interesting one I think which will benefit everybody. So Mustafa here is asking, if I start EN now from South Australia, will it be easy to get PR after 2 years, or it'll be difficult, or if there'll be more requirements then?
Mustafa, obviously you've asked a very point on question because EN as an occupation definitely, has faded away in few states which are bigger, such as Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. They have not been promoting or giving invitations to enroll nurses, lately over the last 6 to 8 months. But South Australia has been very promising for enroll nurses because they have, given invitations, and they are still giving invitations to enroll nurses for those who have started from there and subsequently worked there for 3 months. My advice to you is, if you have plans to do this course, definitely go for it. What is the worst case out of this is that if you are not able to successfully obtain it after completion of the study, you can always go for registered nurse as an option. But at least for now, South Australia has not disappointed anyone who has gone there for the last 1.5 2 years. So yes, I would give you a thumbs up for that.
Ashil, I think is a very specific question. Do we have bachelor's, graduate entry on Tasmania? So you can probably contact Akshay directly on this, right? Yes, Meher. Yes, everybody. We have recording of this meeting, and the YouTube links will be shared. So I think we have already exceeded the time, so no further questions. But that shouldn't stop you from attending our session towards the end of the day. The link for which we are going to share just right now. Thank you so much, all of you, for attending this session, taking your valuable time out. And don't forget to leave we are going to share links. So we don't forget to leave your review on this session. We are just sharing the link right now and on the chat box. Yes. And we have further more sessions coming up. Today, the whole day we are running sessions. So just, and all the links are already shared in the chat box. Just quickly copy them, right? And thanks a lot for attending the sessions today. And thank you, Aksh. Thank you, Kunal. I think it was really informative. I'm getting excited about this. So I'm sure people are already, so much of information. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks a lot. Ensure that you attend all the consecutive sessions today and tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.